Hello, folks. Red Labor here. Hope you're having a fabulous day. Well, I want to talk about the 2012 elections and some of the insanity and that result from things like elections. Um, for starters, let me talk about the election itself. Obama, only a slightly preferable outcome. Um, I will tell the left, do not expect a second FDR with the second term with Barack Obama. He's going to sell you liberals out. I'm telling you, um, he's going to sell you out, and you know where you heard it first. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope he's going to be Mr. Progressive. I hope he'll be the Norman Thomas we never had that finally made it into the White House. But only time will tell, won't it? I know it will. The thing about this election is, it's kind of funny because, Governor Mitt Romney almost won this thing, and because he's sitting there listening to the craziest of the crazies from that Tea Party base. That's what did it in for him. You go tell a group of people like Latinos that you're not wanted in this country. You're done for, and that's what fucked it up for the Republicans. They got on this anti-immigration bandwagon, and it came around to bite them in the ass. I mean, I can understand Republicans, riding off the black vote. I mean, there's a history to this, and I know if I was African American, the Republican Party would sure as hell not be a very welcoming place, considering how many conservative Democrats in the '60s in the South turned Republican over the issue of civil rights, which lasts to this day. But let's talk about the craziest of the crazies, Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck basically said, if you don't have farmland, buy some farmland. If you live on the East Coast, get the hell out of there and get yourself grandfather clause into the Second Amendment. Do you know what I think of when I think of farmlands? I think of compounds. And you know what I think of when I think of East Coast cosmopolitan types, according to the right. And we know cosmopolitans is a code word for blacks, Jews, and Latinos, gay people. We know that's what it is for the ultra-right. And do you know what I think when you talk about getting yourself grandfather clause into the Second Amendment? Now, for the record, I'm against gun control myself. I mean, it is in the Constitution. I'm not going to argue with that. But when you hear these uber patriots talk about Second Amendment remedies and clinging on to your guns like a bunch of pissed off rednecks, guess what I think of? Anybody ever heard of a novel called The Turner Diaries, written by Andrew MacDonald, which was a pseudonym for William Luther Pierce? It was a scary novel. Well written as it was a scary novel. And it takes place in the fictional year of 1991. The book came out in 1978. And in this novel, there's a man named Earl Turner who joins a revolutionary white militia, neo-Nazis. And this paramilitary organization gets bigger and bigger until America's taken over. A nuclear war is launched in cities with high Jewish populations. Israel's nuked, and parts of the Soviet Union and China's nuked, and an extermination of anybody who isn't white transpire. And there's like 50 million Aryans left in the world to start all over again. That's what the Turner Diaries was all about. The book that inspired Timothy McVeigh to destroy the federal building in Oklahoma City. And I, for the record, do not think that Glenn Beck is necessarily a racist. I don't think he's a racist, but I do think he panders on that race card, and he's speaking to people that, gets pretty excited by books like the Turner Diaries. He's trying to get them all worked up. And Mr. Beck, an advice to you, and I know you're not going to listen to a socialist like me, but, if you fear the big bad federal government, you're using that argument about the big bad federal government coming in to take away your guns and to assault your religious freedoms and all this other patriot propaganda you preach. Don't be surprised if you get yourself in trouble with the government eventually, when people are actually engaging in really, really, really fucked up behavior. As a civil libertarian, because I'm a socialist, and as a socialist, it makes me a civil libertarian, and I defend your right to talk like a crazy man on your show. I listen to it sometimes, and you're crazy. You have a right to talk what you talk, because I'm a free speech absolutist. But at the same time, Mr. Beck, you're pandering to the racists out there. You know you are. You know you are. I know you're not a racist. In fact, I'm convinced of that. I'm convinced that you and most of the talk show hosts on the right are not necessarily racist, but you pander to racists. And I just think y'all have lost your mind. And when you're saying things like this, it's basically what I think of as the Turner Diaries. So, a little food for thought, folks. Watch out for those who are bat crazy.